This is a tool that I had made. My friend Daryl Dickerson made it from Current Fabrication, Tracy, California. It's a 3/8 tube, and it's hollow. The walls are thick, but it's hollow because when you go to pry on this, and there's a lot of prying involved when you're taking dents out of an Elsinore tank, the force of the prying is sent toward the outside of the tubing, not through the whole tube to where you get a lot of flex. This is used in many of the applications and many of the dents that I work on. I'm not going to be using it tonight. I'm going to show you something, well, let's call it primitive, if you will. A lot of my repairs are made with something just as simple as this. What you have here is a vice grip, and you've got, I think this is an engine bolt out of a Honda, like a 5/16 bolt. And I bend it as I go, or I have other ones that I use that I bend certain ways where I get up inside the holes that I put in an Elsinore tank to get the dents out. You're going to see it here in a moment, but I also wanted to show you right here. You see, there's a hole right here. It's just a little one, and this fits right inside there. A lot of people over the years, especially with Elsinore tanks, the fork stops have broken, those forks come around, they slam into this side right here, and they put a wallop in the front of that tank that, well, very difficult to get out if you don't know what you're doing. I'm going to show you something right now, take a walk around the front of the bench, and I'm going to show you a little bit more about how you can take, if you're bold enough, you can take some dents out of your Elsinore tank. Jordan, let's flip that camera around, see what we got. Right here, I've taken my block, my sanding block, and I've run it across this dent to show you, or to accentuate a little bit, to where the dent is. Underneath the bottom here is a hole, much like I showed you on the tank that was on the bench before. Here again, my tricky tool that I'm going to put up in here, and I'm going to begin to gently pry away at this dent. And what you're going to do is you're going to go a little bit at a time, okay? You're going to want to get as close as you can each time you pry on that dent. And when I say as close as you can, I'm talking about as close as you can to where you just pried previously. You got to keep in mind that no matter how big a tool you were able to get inside that tank, that it's only the highest point of that tool that's actually going to raise the dent. In other words, I've got this little bolt in here right now, and I'm raising this dent out a little bit at a time. You could probably see it. It's leaving some high spots there. But if I had drilled a hole in this tank the size of a cue ball, it wouldn't matter, because it's only going to hit at the highest point of whatever you put in there. And I think you could see in the video, because I'm looking at the screen too, that the dent is coming out a little bit at a time, and I'm following very closely. Each step that I take, I'm following very closely to where my last little lift is as I'm working that hole. Now, I'm making sure, or I'm making this look pretty easy. Right here, I have some 240 grit sandpaper. And what I would recommend if you're going to do this is that you buy a quality sandpaper, and that's P rated. I think you could see right here, 240 grit, and it says a P right before it, right? You don't want to go to Home Depot and buy something off a Home Depot rack. You want to go to an auto parts store or an auto body supplier and get yourself some P-rated 240 grit paper. I like it with the sticky back on it. Sometimes I use it just on my hand, and other times I just use it where I fold it over. So what I'm going to do right here, give you an example, or give you a visual of what has happened since I began just a few minutes ago. Lifting that dent out with that bolt and that vice grip. You could see right here, there was quite a dent there just a little while ago. And you can see those little high spots right there. I haven't raised it too much. You don't want to raise it too much. You just want to get the dent out. Just raise it a little bit at a time. Now, where there are marks or where you don't see a mark, well, that's where you maybe want to go back and follow up a little bit with your tool in there again and keep lifting it up. Something to keep in mind when you're sanding is to go back and forth, up and down, and then around in circles like this. You want to turn the paper frequently, and you want to use a different section of the paper each time. Now, while there's a lot to go there, you could see that I have raised a lot of that dent. Yeah, there are a couple of low spots. You can get right back in there with the tool again, and you can raise them. What I also do is, a lot of times I use a magnet, something like a little magnet like this. It tells me exactly where the tool is inside the tank if you can't see it. So you might want to keep a little magnet on hand. Now I'm raising it a little bit more right here. Now you can see where it's starting to contour, starting to come in to where the dent is getting raised, and you're getting closer and closer with getting it back to the proper contour of the tank. Shouldn't be wearing probably my fancy wedding band as I do this, should I? But anyway, look, I can stand here and talk about taking out dents and how to do it, well, all day long. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background on how to do that. You could do it on CZ tanks. You could do it on Elsinore tanks. You could do it on anything that's made of aluminum. Yeah, you can do it on steel too, but steel's a lot more difficult. It really, really is. Steel's a lot more difficult. So next time maybe you get a dent in one of your Elsinore tanks or something else, you might want to consider grabbing an old bolt and a pair of pliers and a drill. Drill a hole in there. Go nice and easy. Keeping those high spots, working them, keeping them right next to each other as you go.